Well, it's the 22nd of September, which means it's our 5th anniversary. And I've got a few toys to show you. The SMEMA Hermes Adaptor. But first of all, let's go over to the contract manufacturer to see it manufactured. So you join me here at CT Production in Poole in Dorset. This is about 10 minutes away from where we're based in Bournemouth. You have to remember that at the start of this project we were a software only company, and that's what I wanted to stay as. But as the project matured, we had to design electronics, and CT Production is a contract manufacturer, but also they helped us out with a design of the electronics we were going to get made. We're here today to get them made. They're also going to help us out with some dongles getting made, and it's a great find of a company because I know nothing about this company before the project started. Thanks goes to Beckett for highlighting it to us, and I hope that this will be a great relationship for further projects to be created. So the electronics are back from the factory, and I'm now currently in Barclays Eagle Lab in Bournemouth, which is the first Eagle Lab that Barclays opened. Barclays realised as they were closing high street banks, they still needed to connect with the local community, and one of the biggest community out there is business. There's a big startup community in Bournemouth, and it made sense to open this space. It's a co-working and maker space. So you can rent a desk, you can have events here, you can prototype your products here, and as you grow you can take up more and more space. So you can start off with a desk, and then you can move into 4-man or whatever size offices, and then they can expand from that point onwards. We've really used this facility, especially thanks goes to Sharon Jones, who has helped us prototype the product, and that's why I'm here today. I'm here to do the final assembly of the Quentin Hermes SMEMA adapter. I truly believe that I should be doing everything at least once, which I haven't technically done because I've obviously outsourced a lot of the product development of the product, not the software, but to find out what other people might go through when they're manufacturing the product, and then highlight anything that needs to be improved along the way. So that's my job for the day. I better get on with it. So this has been a 3-year project, which I can't believe. It started off as a side project. it was to support the rollout of the Hermes Standard, and if I just roll off a few dates for you, from my point of view also as a log of history. So September 2018 is when it all first kicked off. I was at a restaurant having my dinner, and I was thinking, how can we kind of work with the Hermes rollout? Can we inject or extract data using this new format? And then I thought, actually, there's lots of equipment out there that need to be upgraded. How are they going to be upgraded? How is the dumb bits of the line going to be upgraded, such as the conveyors? How are equipment that is going to be out of service or maybe second-hand going to be upgraded? So it was common, and I've seen it before, of interfaces between SMEMA, which is basically a traffic light system. Very simple, stop, start, I'm ready, I've got a board. If both are green, then a printed circuit board moves from one machine to the next. SMEMA has been used in the past for SMEMA interlocking, so you can become a middleman within the SMEMA communication and do a MES lookup, a manufacturing execution lookup. You can scan a barcode on the machine, you can stop SMEMA, you can go and fetch that information of that board, and if everything's great, you can then continue. And so the same concept was it has been used with this adapter. The machine itself believes it's still communicating via SMEMA, but actually it's been translated through the Hermes standard to the machines either side. So September 2018 when it first started. March 2019 is when I first contacted Lief at ASM. ASM were part of the initial team that created the Hermes standard, and he was in charge of the software, I believe. So I was questioning whether there was already software libraries for C#, which is our programming language of choice. There wasn't. There was a wrapper for it though. So then I commissioned this. This is the prototype. It's the electronics inside of it is my first stab at what could have been, but actually I'm not an electronics engineer, so I wasn't going to trust myself for it. But we commissioned this box, which essentially was the size of the single board computer. It had the SMEMA interfaces on each side, upline and downline, downline, obviously all the connections to the single board computer at the side, status LEDs, nice form factor, nice and compact. Of course, industrial products are normally quite heavy, they're quite big, they look expensive, so we were seeing this as mass manufactured products, and we wanted to keep the price point low, and we wanted to kind of show off to the industry that you can do something for low cost, a quick easy buy. We were targeting a credit card purchase, essentially, a middle manager on the production line that just wants to quickly upgrade their machine, and it's a quick purchase, nothing to be no real need to overly think about the purchase of it. So cheap price point, but also I know a lot about computing history, and actually there's a lot of entry-level businesses out there in the computing history space that have always seen a price point, an expensive price point, and tried to minimize it, and that's kind of what we try to do. So the form factor was nice and nice and compact, but the electronics inside was having my first go, so I wouldn't even want to open this box. Having said that, I think it would work, but I would never trust it in production. So that was in March 2019 when we commissioned the actual enclosure from SmartBoxx. We got in contacted in May 2019 with a web developer, so the actual front end, the user interface, would have to be created by a web developer because it's all browser based. And again, it's about showing the industry how to work with other people outside the industry. It's not necessarily saying, right, you've got software engineers in your company, so use them. It's about saying, okay, your software engineers can do the main control software, but all the user interface kind of stuff can be outsourced to the creative and digital communities around us, the digital economy, as they call it. So in June 2019, we were introduced to a local contract manufacturer in Poole called CT Production. The SmartBoxx and the CT Production introduction was given to us by Pete Beckett, so I really want to say thanks to him. He was working in the IoT space and still is working in the IoT space. He's a hardware guy, so I thought this would be a great collaboration between me and him, me doing the software, him doing the hardware. But he introduced us to CT Production, so we started to work on a real printed circuit board design, electronic design, and as soon as we got that going and we got some quotes from them, we then were approached by the Arts University in Bournemouth, who were managing some match funding from the EU. So we originally matched, I think the original quote was £3,000. It was bumped up to £5,000, and now it's gone to £10,000. So, but that's saying that is not just to say the product went over budget. It's just to say that as over time, and that's what's really nice about the match funding, is you get to take the next step before you would normally take the next step, because everything is half price essentially, so it's match funded. We got that approved in August 2019, and they approached us, which is really nice. I went to a pitch day, a business pitch day you have in the startup communities. As normal, I went away from that pitch day thinking that was a complete waste of time. I didn't know who was in the room. I didn't know whether I did a good job or not. If I don't know who's in the room, I can't really pitch a certain type of person. So it's really difficult in those pitch events. And investors don't really want to, as I said before in previous videos, investors don't really want to say who they are or what they're looking for. They kind of lurk in the shadows in those sort of situations. But AUB approached us to say, there's got some match funding, do you want it? So we applied for that, and I think they were really keen with us because they could see that this is going to have a proper outcome, and this product's going to be all over the world in lots of factories, and it's going to be a really good success story. So I think they were really sold with us. So then we got the funding. We then went to back to SmartBoxx to get the Mark 1. Now the Mark 1 is this one. It's a horrible form factor. It's a cube. Same sort of principle, single board computer at the bottom, status LEDs at the side, which would have had labels obviously, but this was a dual lane system. And how this came about was I went back to ASM with a meeting there, but I was actually there to talk about the Hermes Standard. I wasn't there on ASM business. And they hijacked the meeting slightly, and they said they had a machine that needed essentially dual conveyor control on each side, but in obviously a parallel, a series single lane formation, so 1 and 2, and they proposed just using 2 of my boxes to do that. Now I wasn't, as you see, it was quite early days at that point, and I wasn't completely happy with them embedding the product in their product essentially, because I knew that would be a support nightmare. But I did take it. Well, I took away 2 or 3 things from that meeting, which was really I just realised my black t-shirt is the same colour, so there you go, you can see it better like that. I took 2 or 3 things away from that meeting, which was a really worthwhile meeting. One was the dual lane. Obviously, okay, there's going to be need for dual lane situations out there, and so can we just duplicate everything we've done in a single box to make the solution more compact? The second thing was, because it was dual lane, what does can the software handle dual lane? And that was a big highlight. That's actually the software only handled one instance of a lane, and so now the software can handle many lanes. It's untested how many lanes it can handle. Obviously the computer that it runs on would have to be spec'd up to manage more lanes, but generally it can handle 2 if you're using the adapter. Secondly, it was actually a concept. It was an opportunity to say, this customer has a problem, what solution would you provide them with? And actually I went away and said to them, you don't need my hardware, but you need my software, and you can run the software on their own the existing manufacturing equipment, and you can actually use someone else's hardware. And actually the Brainboxes BB, I think it's called 38, has exactly the right amount of I/O, and actually you can run the MultiPlug on a PC, on their PC. You then interface that via Ethernet to the Brainboxes hardware, and then you can run multiples of those bits of hardware, but just one bit of the software, and you can just add as many lanes as you want and communicate to them. So that was a good situation where I came away from it not only creating a better product, but also becoming a solutions engineer. And I had to really think on my feet with that one. But it did prove that actually the concept was expandable and modular, and exactly what I'm targeting this at, which is actually, this is the building blocks. And actually I've had many inquiries saying, can we just have the SMEMA interface please? And that's exactly another product that now is in the bag. It just needs a little bit of software, which again, it's all modular, it's all extension based on the MultiPlug. So that's something that is bolstering our product portfolio, I guess. So that's prototype, that's Mark 1. Where are we? So in January 2020 we then created Mark 2. So prototype, Mark 1 and Mark 2. Now actually this is Mark 3. This is the final product, but Mark 2 was just this product without the serial port. Now originally, again, single board computer, has all the functionalities of what you can expect on a PC, but what I expected to do when I had to interface with a serial port for conveyor communications, I was going to use a dongle, USB to serial port dongle. And then I thought actually the cost of adding additional bits of hardware to the BOM, bill of materials, wasn't that great, and I might as well put a serial port in there, because again we're thinking about lots of legacy situations and there's lots of serial port situations out there. So Mark 2 was that without the serial port. Mark 3 had the serial port on it. So this is Mark 3. This is Mark 3, and as you see, nice form factor. Nice form factor. It can be DIN rail mounted, it can be wall mounted, or you can put some magnets on the back to attach it directly to the case of the manufacturing equipment. So serial port, Ethernet, USB connections for barcode scanners or whatever. The connections to the SMEMA is simply by dongle. So you've got the 14 pin way SMEMA connection, and then you've got an RJ12 at the end. This comes in both male and female. So this is direct machine entry, where if you want an extension lead, you might want to go for the female version. So this attaches to the underside of the two connectors, as so, and then goes straight into the manufacturing equipment. SMEMA status LEDs are on the front, also the Hermes status, which are essentially the SMEMA ones too, also on the front. You've got a restart and shut down button. You've got an audio alarm for signaling any sort of error conditions. And as I said, all based on a single board computer, so it's all upgradable. It runs directly off the USB stick to the side, which means backing up or upgrading the software is just essentially pull it out, flash the drive, and then put it back in again. So it's nice and simple. It's again, we've spent a lot of time thinking about the support side of this, because the industry is very much wasteful on how it supports things, and that's fair enough. If it's big industrial equipment, you need to actually touch. But when you're talking about software, remote desktop connections, or just simply being able to guide someone via user tutorial is the way to go. Digital first is the way to go. So back to so I've skipped over the dates, but June 2020, the Mark III was commissioned, and then the final run of the enclosures was August 2020, and February 2021 the labels were created at Arts University. These are UV printed, nice finish, professional look, I think. And then CT production in March 2021, which you've already seen commenced in the year, and then the final assembly happened early this month. So that's 3 years, but 3 revisions of the product. And obviously as time's gone on, it's got more and more serious. Inquiries have been outstanding. A bit scary, I must admit, when you're interfacing with customers all over the world, and you're thinking about support, and you're thinking about logistics, and you're thinking about any sort of small things like shipment, boxes, simple things like that. Quite a lot to do for a startup business, but we're here now. Initially it's all going to go via e-store, so it's going to be shipped straight out to the UK. Maybe in the future there'll be some distributors. I'm telling customers they can only have 2 at the start, just for evaluation, and then they can have more. That hasn't stopped any customers wanting 10, 20 at a time, which is I think what they call a nice problem to have. So that's the main box. Let's just go over and have a play around with the software and show you the user interface and how basically it works. So here I've got the test simulators open for the Hermes Standard, already fired up, both upline and downline. I'm now going to go down to the MultiPlug Discovery app. This discovers all the MultiPlug instances on the network. I'm going to select the SMEMA Hermes adapter, which will open me up the browser-based interface. I'm now going to log in. And this takes me to the home application screen of MultiPlug. So, quick overview of MultiPlug. You've got extensions, you've got the main Hermes extension, you've got network sockets, and you've got the GPIO, the I/O interface to the main hardware of the adapter. You should see at the bottom right of my screen a live view of the adapter LEDs, and if you can actually manually change these if you wish. So I can switch off and on the LEDs, I can blow the buzzer. Essentially you have access to the raw I/O of the adapter, which means you can easily adapt the software as you see wish. So first of all, network sockets, you've got a client and an endpoint, and we've got it set up to this machine here. It all runs on a event and subscription based system, so every time there's a read event of the socket, there's an event that occurs and the Hermes extension subscribes to it. All this is set up for you when you install the adapter, but it gives you flexibility in the future. So the settings of the Hermes extension is here. As you see, there's just one lane because this is a Quentin. If you want 2 lanes, you can use the Austin product, and as you see, you just add a new lane like that, and set up the new lane. So we've called the machine conveyor, and all this is set up for you out of the box, but again it gives you flexibility. You can see there's the XML messages, the send receive for the upstream, and there's XML send and receive from the downstream. And then you have options for the SMEMA equipment, board whips, what to do if a board is injected into the machine. Do you allow users to manually enter data, or do you receive it from a scan station such as a barcode reader or a lookup to a database? So this is the settings area, which again will be out the box set up for you. So in the apps area is the main user interface of the adapter. So this is what most users will see. As you see, you get upline and the status, it's waiting for board. You then get the actual equipment you're talking to. Currently it's ready, and we can see that from the LED, yellow LED currently on the bottom right of your screen. And then you get the downline, which shows you the it's settable, but the last, I think, 50 boards, and you can interrogate those values, and the Hermes standard requires you to have a lookup for upline machinery. We can see the service descriptions reflect what the simulator is sending it over here, and then there's a scan station, which basically is a queue for situations where there is no Hermes data, and then it will automatically collect or populate the board in the actual equipment from the scan station. The scan station is really just a generic queue called a scan station, but it can be anything. And then we can see the live Hermes, the SMEMA states, if you so wish. So if we just create a board available on the upline, you can see that in that movement it's actually moved the board into the piece of equipment, and it's now inside the equipment. It's now signaling, as we see with the yellow status LED, to the downline. It has a good board, and it's waiting for the downline machine to become ready.
So we can say machine ready, and we can say start transport, and that board has now moved down line, and we can stop transport, and now we have it in the downline queue for, again, interrogation from other machines up line. If we were to if the SMEMA state of the equipment suddenly becomes board available, essentially we place the board in the machine, then an alert will pop up to either get the user to manually populate the data, or it will come from the scan station. So if you wanted user populated data, you could do that and manually enter the details, or it will come from the scan station queue. Again, you can populate it manually if you so wish. These are all settable variables. You can restrict that, obviously, if you don't want users to manually enter stuff and it has to come from a higher system such as a MES or a database. And then other lanes we only have one lane at the moment, but if you have two lanes you can obviously switch between the two. Obviously it's all browser based, so there's facilities to open new browser tabs, for example, to see different states of different lanes at the same time. And so majority of the time you wouldn't need to see this interface. It is just a nice to have, but obviously it can be opened on a piece of equipment adjacent to the adapter, or you could, if you so wish, display it on a additional screen. Just going back to the principles of the multi-plug, all settings are saved and pushed between extensions, and some extensions have functionality to actually save settings. So the recipe via file, for example, actually shows you all the settings of a particular extension, and so this can be imported or exported or backed up as you so wish. So for example, if we went to the Hermes extension, you can go to edit and you'll see a big JSON file of all the settings of the Hermes, which means you can back up that data by, for example, downloading it. I think that is a quick overview of how it all couples together. As I say, the functionality of being able to connect to the real I/O is quite handy, and there are other extensions to be installed which you can couple onto a bigger solution. NuGet Gallery demonstrates all the extensions you can get hold of and handles all upgrades in the future. And last quick thing, just to show you how to change the settings of the adapter's network and host name. If you go to Raspberry Pi config, you have access to all the operating system level settings of the adapter. So for example, network, currently out the box it's set to a static IP address, but you can change that by deleting that value there and saving. Samely with the host name, you can change the host name there, and if you require Wi-Fi access to remotely monitor or set up the adapter, you can set your Wi-Fi country there, and then you'll be able to set Wi-Fi LAN settings there. Other settings are quite obvious along the top there. Other boot, memory, This will show you the memory of the adapter currently, so you can take a look at, you know, available disk space, for example. Etc. Quite a handy extension to have. Helps you configure the underlying operating system. Other things to mention: housekeeping. You have all the logs of the extensions can be read, deleted, etc. And that's the last point I just want to demo you.
So as you see, even though the product is a headless device, there's a nice user interface for understanding what's happening and dealing with any errors. It's all browser based, so and it's, while the adapter works via XML and sockets, there's a REST API, which means other systems can interrogate the adapter and the product information currently on the adapter. So that means it's a nice building block towards the smart factory. It was really nice to be able to go inside and see the electronics circuit board being manufactured, because let's not forget that 2020 was lockdown year and COVID year, and so it was really nice of them that they were able to let me in with my lockdown hair, as you might have noticed. And yeah, it's been a long time, but there's never been a dull moment along the way, especially when you work out that some electronics has been swapped over, or some sort of diagram has. I could not review everything. I learnt along the way how to review schematics. And I guess finally, for those of you who are taking interest in my interest of the Bournemouth new business district in Lansdowne, they have finally made progress in changing the area to make it look more pedestrian friendly. As someone who's worked in that area, I can tell you that even though the beach is only less than 10 minutes away, going out for lunch, you would always end up in a restaurant spending lots of money because there was nowhere to relax. So it's really nice that the council have finally, in the last 6 months, shrunk the road, made it less wide, and made it more pedestrian friendly. And let's hope, fingers crossed, that we will be based there in the future, hopefully. And that's why I'm having a great interest in that area, because hopefully that will be our first office space. Let's see. Anyway, if you have been, thank you for watching. There is a separate Hermes adapter YouTube page. This, if you are a customer and you have stumbled across this is not a product demonstration or sales marketing kind of video. This is just an update. All the Hermes videos will be on the separate web YouTube channel. You can find that out by going to the dedicated product website, and there's a link at the top with support, and that will at some point link you over to the Hermes adapter YouTube page. But until next time, thank you for watching.